Just about the time you guys thought it couldn't get any better. This morning at 9 o'clock, it was Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Great, right? And then at 6 o'clock, once again, a duo, Arnie's Fantasy Sports. Great again. It got greater at 7. You got to hear Phil Chappy into the 8 o'clock hour. How can you outdo Arnie and Phil Chappy? Well, I can tell you, you do it together. Right, Chappy? Good evening, Chappy.
You know it, brother. It's good to be here, man. It's been a long day, and as I said at 7 o'clock, I put up with a lot of shit to get here, so I'm going to make it worth my while.
Well, and now you get me on top of that, so even more manure. It just gets deeper, right? I tell you.
This is the best part of the day, though, man.
So, guys, I beg Chappy not to talk about his stash list. We both have players we love to stash. And so, Chappy, some I've already talked about today, but because I'm such a nice guy and because I have such nice manners, why don't I yield to you and you can tell me first, Chappy, who is a player I should consider stashing for fantasy baseball?
Well, I'll let you choose, Arnie. You want me to talk about a pitcher or you want me to talk about a fielder?
I want you to talk about a pitcher first because I got a pitcher I want to talk about. I'm going to go second, so I won't take your thunder. You go first.
Let me tell you something. This goes out to my buddy Randall. He knows this kid's dad, so he's in my home league, and he talks about this kid all year long. And I'll just say this Dakota Hudson kid is really starting to define his way in St. Louis. Now, he's got a 5-3 record. He's only 29% owned, Arnie. He's got a 5-3 record, a 3.55 ERA, and 54 Ks to 78 innings pitched. Now, his whip's a little high. He's got a 1.53 whip, but what has happened is he's working on his cutter. So he's seen improved results with that cutter. And in his last 6 starts, they've all been quality starts. He has a 2.40 ERA, so he shaved his ERA down, a good point plus in that span, and he's allowed just one home run over his past 48 innings pitched. So here's a guy that's ascending, and at only 29% owned. I'm really a believer in this kid at this point. St. Louis needs the pitching, and he's a big part of if they're going to contend.
I've watched Hudson pitch a couple of times, and it's like the Dakota Hudson I saw at the beginning of this year and the Dakota Hudson I'm watching the last 2 or 3 starts, he looks like a different pitcher.
Yeah.
And, and they've got Flaherty who, we talked about him early. I've been really disappointed with Flaherty. And I think for the Cardinals to come back, if you will, because they have 2 teams in front of them that are strong. You know who I'm talking about. I hear one of them is one of the top 4 teams in baseball, although I might disagree. But, to catch the Cubs and the Brewers, it's going to take some great pitching. It really is. And Dakota Hudson is a big part of that. I mean, his fastball looks good the last few times out to me.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another thing. I know you listen to some of the show. I'm going to double dip on you, Arn. I hate to do it. Carlos Martinez is criminally under-owned. They're talking about him getting back into the rotation now out of need. This is an ace. We talked about him last week. Why the heck, everybody reads one article about they're not putting him in the lineup or in the rotation, and everybody just writes him off as an afterthought. He's got 2 saves this past week, Arnie. This is the guy you need to have.
Yeah, here's the thing. You and I have been talking about him going back into the rotation for 2 or 3 weeks. Why now are the Cardinals just talking about it? Okay? I already said at 6 o'clock, I think it was exactly 6:45. I've not yet been asked to be the general manager of any team. That's still the case at 9:04 p.m. But if I'm a Cardinals GM, I'm letting him start games like from day one. He may not go but 5 innings, but I mean, he's the best arm on the team. I think. What am I missing, Chappy?
Absolutely nothing. I mean, the only thing that you could possibly point to is a little bit of refinement with command. But fact of the matter is, he has so much movement on his stuff that plays into what he wants to do. I mean, the cut he has on that that two-seamer is absolutely filthy. So, okay, so if he's a little wild, he might walk a guy or two. You're going to get a strikeout or two in return. So it's an exchange, right? So, yes, you want that at the top of your lineup. Yes, you want that as your streak stopper. That stabilizes everything in St. Louis's rotation, and I think it's absolutely vital for them contending. The sooner they realize that, the better off they'll be.
I got one in the division. I'm going to take a obscure one, okay? And I want your feedback on this. I'm thinking about, and let me work towards it. First of all, I'm not big in drafting closers. That's not one of my things that I like to do. And the reason being is such a revolving door, year to year, within the season. So here you go. What about stashing Lorenzen for Cincinnati? You want to know why? Because I'll tell you why. Because last night he gets a save. Iglesias was the setup guy last night.
Yeah.
Dig it. And if I'm trading with the Reds and I'm going to get me some Iglesias on my team because I needed bullpen help, a.k.a. the Boston Red Sox, then if I'm Cincinnati, Lorenzen is already in that position. He steps up, and he could get 15 saves the rest of the season if that's the kind of guy you're after. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm stashing now. I'm not.
I know. No, I get it, and I understand it. It just concerns me a little bit, Arnie, if I'm just being totally honest with you, because I'll tell you, I like Lorenzen. I've liked Lorenzen for a long time. I follow the Reds fairly closely, and being here close to Cincinnati. But what concerns me is, there's some other options down there and Lorenzen has always been one of those guys that. He's got all the talent in the world, but he's never been able to put it together all consistently. He certainly has the tools, and if the trade of Iglesias happens, there'll be opportunity there. And I understand where you're coming from and saying that Amir Garrett's probably going to be one of your left-handed specialists. I get that, but I worry about some of those. Post-type, sleeper-type guys that might come in and steal a little bit of thunder there. Don't get me wrong, I think Lorenzen has got just as good a chance as anybody there, but the Robert Stevensons and the Cody Reeds of the world really kind of concern me when it comes to who fills that next role. And then, of course, you have Amir Garrett. So he certainly has good stuff. I think last night might have been a little bit more of an enigma. I think they wanted Iglesias to go 2 innings, and he wasn't capable. But that's what's great about this, right? I mean,
and he showed it last night. He can't do that. I think he showed it.
Yeah. I think if they go back to that situation, because I believe he came out in the 9th and was lifted after the first batter, if I remember recalling correctly.
You recall correctly. You recall.
Yeah. So I think they set it up. They wanted Garrett in the 7th and Iglesias in the 8th and the 9th, but I think they also kind of understood and knew that they had Lorenzen to fall back on. So, kind of thinking it through, right? Maybe that does make more sense than I initially thought. So, I just worry about David Hernandez and, like I said, Reed and Stevenson in that back end. They certainly have options.
No doubt. And I'm not saying that it's a great decision. I'm asking the question, more of a question than an answer. But it just seems to me from what they did last night, certainly that is a possibility that the Reds may turn to. And the other thing, speaking of the Reds, with Iglesias, he's been whining and complaining all year, and I just got the sneaky feeling last night will only lead to more whining and complaining.
Well, it was kind of the beginning to the end, right?
And so is Cincinnati setting it up for a fall? That's what I thought last night. I mean, I thought there was more Young and the Restless search for tomorrow, if you will, than met the initial eye.
I absolutely agree with that statement, Arnie. I couldn't agree more. I think that they wanted. I almost think that they wanted to set him up to fail so that they could kind of make their mind up and say, okay, we're going to go. Cincinnati's in an interesting spot where they could really gain a lot of young talent from a guy like Iglesias. So why not? Live and die. You're not going to be great this year. Why not live and die with some of these young guys and establish, the back end of your bullpen for next year? Because I think the talent there is there. and you're not going to contend. So why do you have this piece at the end?
Right.
Given to someone who can use a purely ninth inning specialist, which is what he is.
So give me another pitcher, because I know you got more than one. I'm ready.
Yeah. Well, kind of. I talked ad nauseum about Matt Manning earlier tonight, but I do think it's important to kind of just reemphasize this kid could be up here in the next couple weeks. His pitch count in the minors is where you want it to be. He's able to go 100 pitches deep. I really believe that that when Manning comes up, I think that he might be behind Luzardo the next best prospect coming up. I said prospect. I mean, I think that's important to note. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah,
Are you agree with that, or?
Yeah, I've been following Manning. He and his teammate Casey Mize, they just were obliterating lower A ball and then double A. And now Mize, and I was going to ask you about this in a moment, but Mize has this shoulder issue, right? And so what's the story there? We'll talk about some more in a moment. But Manning, from everything I'm reading and following, he's ready now, okay?
Right.
And it's just a matter of, do the Tigers, do they want to call him up and let him pitch this year early or later? It's not a matter of if. I think with Manning, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that he's maybe not quite as refined as a Brandon McKay, but I think he's along the same mold where you know what you're going to get. You're going to get a bunch of consistency. You're going to get a seasoned pitcher. The team's going to stink. He's not going to get any run support, but who cares? Why not get your experience in the majors? Because when you have some of these other guys come up, when you have a Mize come up next year, when you have a Franklin Perez behind him and Alex Faedo, you have talent at pitching. So now, why not trade Castellanos, a boy at a Green, and get as much young batting talent as you can? Because I think you have a good, solid anchor to the front of the rotation really quickly.
No doubt. And now that I'm going to just feed off of that because, I'm all about some Brendan McKay. And I don't know if you heard my show tonight. Not only did I do my research on McKay, I called the guru himself and spoke with a very knowledgeable fantasy expert today, former speaker on Sirius XM before he was relegated and taken away by the gamblers of the world. At any rate, Craig Mish. And
Tampa Bay Ray fan.
Yeah, and
that.
so Mish and I were talking about your Cubby guy, at AAA. We'll talk about him in a moment. And we also talked about McKay. And so, I'm really high on McKay. I watched McKay in person, and I you can read, and we talked about this.
Awesome.
You can read all you want to, but he pitched in Durham this weekend. And when you look at that team he pitched against at AAA, all right, you had Mike Ford, who was playing in the major leagues this year. You had Giancarlo Stanton, formerly known as Mike Stanton, who, we all know him. You had Aaron Judge, okay? You had, I counted them, 5 guys on Scranton who had all played in the major leagues this year, okay? He pitches 5 innings of shutout, 1-hit baseball and strikes out 7 and walks none. This kid can throw. And he is it looks so methodical, so easygoing. And so I'll ask you, and I know we're just talking, what we think really doesn't matter, apparently, because if they did, there'd be a lot of players in the major leagues, right? But who gets the call first? Manning or the kid in Tampa?
Man, that's tough. Yeah, I'd say, from what I hear, I'm thinking it's McKay. But I think it's close.
Did you hear my hitting stats I gave out at 6:00 on McKay?
I was hit and miss.
Okay, let me give them to you and anybody listening out there. So Cha-Cha says, not the best, Chappy. Are you guys using Skype? So there is some static at your end. I think it may be your headsets. Could be.
Of course it is. It's brand new headphones.
Yeah, but whatever. It sounds like shuffling. It sounds like papers are shuffling. But at any rate, I can hear you. I can hear you fine though. But here's the thing. Since June the 6th, okay, and I'm a recency kind of guy. Since June the 6th, he's 5 for 16 at the plate. That's a 313 average. 3 home runs, okay, 3 walks, and 4 strikeouts.